Another night on the porch, so light with the torch. Come from Connecticut, it's like a tiny New York. I chill on the meat, I go light on the pork. All you see is cucumbers, melons, and limes on my fork. I'm like a blending of two different things. I'm kinda like sporks. I'm the Black Power Ranger. I do like this and I morph. I'll turn a fully grown human being into a tiny ass corpse. Then I'll turn to Luke Skywalker and use the Force. Cambatta.
420.
420. That means more money, that means wax that looks like pure honey. And we're here with the Akashic one.
You can't see me, but I'm here.
He's here, you have his voice. He is a spiritual entity.
Yeah, my presence is here.
He's an entity that invades all video streams that have to do with deep connectedness to the psychedelic realm. Making sure the levels is straight.
Yeah, it does. It says it's 6:45 before it clicks off. But I still got more time, so I could just press in the next round.
Cool. Will it make a flickering, shuddering sound when it stops? Like,
I don't know. This is my first time actually, but 6.5 minutes. I'll go back.
Yeah.
But you're perfect on there, man.
So as we roll the blunt, we were pretty much talking about the psychedelic experience and how important it is that we have certain people in society that are willing to go to the furthest reaches of the esoteric, exoteric, cosmic realm mentally.
Within yourself.
Within yourself by using these this natural food to just help induce a state that is already natural to you. I don't believe that psilocybin or DMT, I don't think that they're projecting these hallucinations in your head. I believe that they have the ability to activate something that is already inside of us instinctually.
Yeah, I feel like it's by stripping away your ego, it's getting rid of the confines of your soul that lets you see further, see what's really about.
Yeah, and all of the predisposed limitations and blinders that you set up throughout your life from childhood are completely blurred. All the wiring, it's like if you have this behind the scenes wiring board and the wires are usually in a certain place, these elements are able to rewire, like take all the wires out and put them in different spots, allowing you to access creative thought that is usually so alien to you in the waking sober state that you can't obtain it. But in this state, the psychedelic state, you can, not only can you see it, feel it, but you understand it. It isn't until that you come back into the sober mind state that it almost falls through your fingertips like sand, you know, and because
when you're in the moment, it's not even about understanding. It's like you're being.
Yeah,
like that's what I've it's when I say things about being one with the source, like it's like when you're in that mind state, you're in that area, like my eyes are closed, I'm just almost like surfing this crazy conscious ride of consciousness that What were we talking about?
See, that's the 420. That's the effect
Yeah.
that smoking 1,000 consecutive blunts does on. I think we're on 1,013 now. Don't quote me. Somewhere in there. Somewhere between 20 and 1,013 blunts right now. But when you're traveling in that psychedelic state,
you're becoming, like, you feel, it's not about understanding, because you do feel the understanding, but you're just one with it. Like, whatever you think of, like, you see where that came from, the connection to that, where that came from, the connection where that came from, and then if you look into the future, you'll see what you can do this to do with this and do this, and like,
it's an understanding.
Oh, understanding, for sure. It's almost like we have this outward realm that's infinite, that we see space, we go deep into space, we see deep into molecules and atoms and stuff, but there's this third thing inside you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that'd be your third eye, this inner soul, like, that you can see through this spiritual realm with. And I say, based on our diet, like, things aren't the way they used to be, and you can't naturally get there as easily as you were able to before.
Absolutely.
Through meditation. So taking these substances is a shortcut, but it's a powerful way to get there.
Yeah.
It hits you, it makes you confront things.
I 100% agree, and it's to the point that I don't even know if I can justify it anymore, because it's that magical. It's to the point that I don't know. These things are almost here for the development of the mind, and it's so amazing. It's so magical that to even, I don't know, man. It's like, to say you can get to these places with just meditation or just fasting is almost, it's like, I can't even believe it.
Maybe you could produce hallucinations by actually physically being weakened and like your mind coming up with certain things.
But it would be unique to that specific type of hallucination. It's specific. I think not only does every substance, but every experience comes with its own unique hallucination experience. The mighty psilocybin does this. Ayahuasca does this. Mescaline does that. And LSD. They all talk to you in their own language. Now, deep meditation has its own language too. It's more controlled, it seems. There's less. I believe you're less open to the whatever resonating entities are in the space we dwell. Like there's something that definitely you notice that there is more going on in this. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Yeah.
Going along with how meditation gets you to a certain mind state, I feel like when you couple it with things like marijuana or things like psychedelics, it's almost like mixing two different substances together. You like mixing two different kind of enlightenments together, or spiritual ways of like experiencing this world, that it brings you to a higher state.
Yeah, you're right. It is that. It's like the blending of two different technologies to get
and they're both natural, so they coincide with one another. Like it's not like when you're mixing two different substances that are chemically, synthetically made, that you have to worry about the effects. It's like the two frequencies vibe with one another and bring you to a completely different realm of thinking.
Marijuana properly used, coupled with meditation, it makes it a lot easier if you're in a dark room, and it makes it a lot easier if you're on some kind of strict diet, vegetable or just a straight fast. You couple that with some kind of meditative tones, or just nature. Period has the cicadas are like a natural binary, like an isotronic tone or something.
Listen to them right now.
Yeah, exactly. So all these things blended is how you can definitely maximize on a hallucinogenic experience with something as simple as marijuana, and you could get really fucking deep. just off weed, man. If you're really into that, you know, some people keep it at weed because it's kind of like, you know, going to the zoo or something. You're like looking at it through the glass. You know what I mean? Like you get high to where shit is giggly and strange, and you know there's a little space-time deficit sometimes, but you're not tripping balls. You know, you can get there on weed. There are all methods, like we're saying.
Oh yeah.
But you know, I mean, it is definitely a far cry from a heavy, you know, psychedelic dose or you know ayahuasca or smoking DMT. I mean, you know, I think just like water, you need water to replenish your, you know, liquid in your body. You need
physical
air.
being.
Yeah, your physical being. You need air to breathe, right? You need certain minerals in order to build muscles and amino acids and proteins and things like that. You need psilocybin to build your brain.
Yeah.
You need marijuana as a medicine, as a primary medicine.
I would say of consciousness. More like your mind more than your brain.
Yeah, absolutely, your mind. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Because there's a duality there. It's so.
Yeah.
It's a contrast between one another, but they're located in the same area.
Yeah.
We would say.
I don't think shrooms or any of these substances should ever be put in a box of drugs, and I don't think they should be in a category of optional to culture. I think that they're just like if you have a preacher in front of me or a priest or somebody that's claiming that they understand consciousness and they haven't taken this, then to me their word is not valid. I don't care. It sounds insensitive.
Oh yeah.
But if you haven't seen consciousness from that view, that perspective, then you're not that you'll ever get close to seeing the big picture, but you're definitely not even a couple steps closer if you haven't broken through the seal of this consciousness.
Oh, for sure. I mean, based on the experience of anyone I've ever really dealt with, at least if you don't smoke marijuana, like, it seems like I won't get along with you. And but then once you get into these psychedelic realms, that's when those people that I always come across that I find are much deeper, that I delve deeper into these different ways of being, different ways of thinking. Like, it's almost like anytime I'll talk about an experience I've had with someone else, they'll be like, yeah, man, I had the same exact thing. And it's like these substances produce this mind state. And earlier today I was thinking, like, I can understand why the government doesn't want us to have this open-minded, free thinking, able to connect things together in different ways and be creative and be able to say, like, why the fuck am I doing this? Why is this set up this way?
Exactly.
You know, if you have a more majority people able to have access to that, then, you know, they might be likely to do it, and then they might actually be able to revolt around it.
Exactly.
And that's what I would hope for. That's what I hope that's what's going to break the system, is being people to be able to realize that it is just like an illusion.
That's the quickest way to do it is with these substances. Absolutely. That's why they keep you know, tight chain on it. You know what I mean? Because even Terence McKenna talks about it. You know, it's not a coincidence that all the Silicon Valley geniuses and the people who contributed to the building of, you know, all the AIs in the future that we're looking at now, internet, etc., were the children of the first real psychedelic wave in the 50s and 60s. These were the first people, you know, tripping on a crazy LSD. And, you know, all of these guys, you look at Steve Jobs, they all tell you about times where they've taken LSD. And it's because you can tap into the reservoirs of all, like, knowledge, like they said, and you don't understand it, you understand it, you become it, you're a part of it, you're just, you know. And to me, just like in jail, they're not going to give the prisoners protein shakes and weights because they know they're going to get too strong. And
I've even seen when people are too strong, they take away their weights and say you can't do anything.
Yeah. Now, just like in order to build muscle, you need protein and amino acids. In order to build a genius brain, you know, with you know, in conjunction with practice and all these things, if you also have the help of the food of the gods, we call it, you can bring your genius to whole new realms, you know what I mean? And it should come at a mature age, but I think it's almost for the priest of the culture, in the sense, like if you look at anything like a microscopic village or something, you know, there would be your people who, you know, get your warriors, your people who get food, your people who are doctors, and you have your shaman, and those are the people who should be into these things. You know what I mean? If not everyone at a certain point.
Yeah, it should be like almost like a rite of passage
Mm-hmm.
to experience it, like it used to be in the Hallucinian age when they would take the sacred sacrament. You could only go once in your lifetime, but you would pick it and then you'd go, and they'd have this. I mean, was it a drink? I can't remember. I mean, there's.
Usually
I don't know if
it's
anybody
depicted-
ever knows really, but
I mean, in all movies and cartoons, they usually depict it as a drink, a witch's brew. You see it in everything. They'll drink something.
probably
and
just
put
similar to
something in it.
ayahuasca.
Yeah. Ebo gang, all
Or,
that.
I mean, I've heard McKenna has talked about it as probably maybe a. It was something like ergot, which is similar to like an ergot.
That's where they extract LSD from.
Yeah, it's a similar substance to LSD that something might have been poisoned, or they were able to notice that you could get to a different mind state with this certain kind of ergot,
Mhm.
and then they use that as their sacrament.
Yeah.
And you know, I love the term sacrament for psychedelics because it's a food of the god, and sacrament is, you know, you hear in churches as like you're supposed to take this sacrament and it's a holy thing, whereas like that's just a fucking wafer. Like this is something that'll bring your mind into a holy mind state.
Absolutely.
Holy in the
It's flesh
sense of in spiritual, and holy in the sense that you could feel everything.
Yeah. Absolutely. To me, there's it's the only proof that I've seen in my existence here on Earth. It is the most evident, vivid, obvious truth to all questions about magic, you know, spirituality. When you hear about all these prophetic experiences, you know, talking to God, you know, getting these grand, crazy ideas from the heavens and having voices speaking to you.
I don't have that in my sober mind state.
No, like the only proof that I have as a living human that these things can happen is under the magic spell of these hallucinogenic substances, mushrooms, DMT, acid, you know, marijuana to a certain extent. I mean, even we're talking about salvia, you know, mescaline. They can all induce these states, and to me, you know, I mean, you know, you hear the stories of somebody, oh my God, you know, I saw it in a dream. I was walking along the fields and, you know, a voice started just talking to me. To me, there's always a blank insert here where they don't mention that they took some shrooms right before it. Because then to me, if they said that, all these stories would make a lot more sense.
It would be like Eurowid.
Yeah, exactly. Like
a triple.
exactly. Like okay, yeah, he forgot to mention that he took some acid. But I don't think what you're experiencing is fake. I believe that in order to live in this paradigm, whatever, we have some kind of hedonic adaptation to everything that we see in the psychedelic mind state, and all that does is give us the lens to see things that are already here that we cannot see in a functioning manner when we're sober. It wouldn't be if you saw orbs and trails and you heard the echo and dissipation of sound when you were just driving on the road, it would make it impossible for you to navigate a car. Now, maybe you get used to it. Maybe we have gotten used to it. Maybe when you're a baby, this is how you experience things, and your mind has to fine-tune itself in order to survive. So maybe all shrooms
that's what
do.
culture. I mean, I feel like that's what our culture is, that fine-tuning of how because we have these biological ways of being, and then our culture says, all right, this is how we socially interact with one another, this is how we live.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but when I take these psychedelic substances, that it's like, you examine the culture and you're like, why is it set up like this? It's almost like a sham that it's like, you start seeing, I mean, you get an open mind state where you start questioning everything, and then you start, once you're becoming one with that, it's like your spirit is guided to the zeitgeist documentaries, to the Cambatta, you know, like, these different things, spirit science. Like you were saying earlier, like, these are awesome places to find alternative ways of looking at our reality that, you know, maybe not as provable or not provable, just as these other history is not as provable.
Mhm.
But I mean, I feel like if I'm going to believe in something, if I'm going to go along with something, that it's going to be something that resonates with me.
Yeah, exactly. Something that when applied to your personal internal logic makes sense. Some things that
Especially when there's discrepancies with what everything you've been told along the lines, and they're just like, oh, don't question anything. Like, I would always be asking questions, and it'd be like, why are you, it's just like, to the point where they're not even going to talk to you.
Like, to them, you have a preacher, let him handle the Bible. You have a teacher, let him handle the knowledge. You know, you have a parent, let them handle all the thinking. Like, you know, hey, you know, that's what they're there for. You know, somebody already died for your sins, so don't worry about that. Like, you know, and you're giving up all your power, and you're voluntarily turning yourself. You have a choice of whether you want to be a god or the direct inverse, a dog. Dog is an acronym for dependent on God. And God is an acronym for God of dogs. Straight up, you know what I mean? Like, you can either be a god or a dog. And dogs are completely dependent on man for food. What do we, the government, what do we, you know, hey, food, we need to, we rely on our boss to give us money, or we can't eat. We rely on the system, the fucking Walmarts. We rely on these, you know, fast food to prepare our food. We don't know how to farm. We don't know how to make our own clothes. We're completely dependent on the system. They absolutely are, in a sense, our God. If you subscribe to that as a culture and a lifestyle, then they're your boss. A boss is a daddy, just like Dame Dash said, which all pretty much comes down to that's your God. You know what I mean? It's like, are you going to be your own God? Are you going to dictate your own life? You know? What time is it?
10:50.
Was it still recording?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like, this is a very trippy experience here on Earth, man. And I mean, it's so beautiful, it's so rewarding. You know, it's hyper weird. I mean, time is just like this. You know, when you look at it from afar, it's so short, but when you look at it from within it, it's so long. You know, it's like...
It's a great way of explaining it, because, like, things have been, it seems like events have just been happening personally in my life in such rapid succession, and things that I've been learning have been coming at me at such rapid pace that I look back at it and I feel like I've only met you, what was it, 3 months ago?
Yeah.
Not even barely a quarter of a year ago.
Yeah.
And, like, it's insanity.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the things that have come to me and in that time alone.
Yeah.
Let alone thinking about what the last 6 months has been.
Yeah.
And it's just such a hyper progression, and you know, it almost makes me think that like Terrence McKenna was onto something about this time wave thing, and that we're getting sucked into something, and it's coming faster and faster. Maybe his time was wrong on it.
Yeah. No, absolutely, because if he's basing these projections on this man-made calendar, who knows what the intentions and accuracy of the calendar is in the first place.
Oh yeah, I think the Gregorian calendar is bullshit in the first place.
Yeah, so if he's trying to line it up to that, which is all he has in order to relatively...
Talk to anybody about it. Like, oh yeah, like based on the Mayan calendar, where it's like, yeah, you're a kook.
And also, how do we know that he was wrong? Just because something didn't go wham boom doesn't mean that something didn't get sparked off. And
it's definitely be like especially since 2012, I feel like it's been that way for me.
And what if our bodies are so our bodies are so depleted that we don't even have the ability to feel the resonance of what the change was? It's happening on a spiritual level, and we're so dumbed down that we can't even feel it. The change did happen. The ring is happening. Look at technology. Look at how fast things are happening. Look at how our minds have evolved.
It's like the sun, like you hear the statistic, like if the sun ever burnt out, that we wouldn't notice it for 7 minutes, because that's how long it takes for the light of the sun.
Yeah.
Like spiritually, like what if these reverberations are going on like a different time scale?
Yeah. It's moving, man. I mean, maybe 2012 was the first year of of what's unfolding of something. It was the seed that was planted at that time. Yeah, you don't see it when you plant a seed. You don't sit there and watch the tree grow. You won't see anything. It happens in a different time space continuum. But what happens is you leave 5 years. You leave for 5 years. You come back, and all of a sudden the tree is 10 years. You know, it's 10 feet tall. Just like yourself. I remember being shorter. I remember being, like 9 years old. I remember being 10 years old, 5 feet tall. But I can't really, and then you'll look at yourself in the mirror like a year later and you'll be like, oh shit, I got taller. Or you get measured at a doctor a year later and you'll be like, oh fuck, I got taller. You don't really see yourself growing. You don't really experience growth. It happens so slow. And our eyes can't really pick it up, you know what I mean? It's not something you feel. And that's the same thing what's going on with the way that the earth changes through these cycles. You don't feel it. You don't see. It's not a big boom. It's not a big bang. The Big Bang wasn't like boom bang, you know what I mean? And then all this shit came out when at least that's how it's described. I don't really subscribe to that theory necessarily. But if you do subscribe to that, you can't look at it as, like a bomb going off and all of a sudden everything is scattered into place. It's just like a flower blooming. It's a slow unfolding.
Oh yeah, especially like for like, I don't know, billions of years, it was too hot for anything to even come together. It was all just like molecules that were separate, like, so everything has a trajectory. I mean, it just seems like the time scale is going quicker and quicker and quicker.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to think about it like we're born into a mature universe. It's a lot different to look at it like we're born into a maturing baby universe that's growing as we're living in it. You know what I mean? And our projection and our mind. What if we are the first? Nobody wants to say this. What if we are the first race of intelligent beings?
Yeah, that would be something.
What if the universe is as big as they said, and in all these little cases there's been slightly intelligent, but what if we are the first? It's all we always assume. Hey, there's an older race. There's a more supreme race. What if we're the first race of supreme alien? Like our however long mankind was on Earth. I haven't heard that theory be talked about at all. We always assume that we're visited by better. You know what I mean? There's always better out there.
Right.
What if we're the ones that plant that seed?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a perpetuated thing. Like, it could be just to keep you not in the know that we are, like, these future or past cultures that we had these different ways of knowing. Like, they knew about these technologies of the stars and stuff before we had any idea of it with our telescopes.
Even looking in the telescopes, you're looking at a projection in time.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So
for sure.
Who knows? We could be looking at the future of what's growing from our seed. You know what I mean? Like the things that we're doing, the intelligence of the human. I love how, ancient aliens, we just assume that, these, the older humans, our ancestors were these dumb people that couldn't, manifest things and build pyramids. When we look around and we have iPhones and skyscrapers, it's like, what makes us so much better than them? You know what I mean? Of course they can manipulate nature better than us. You know what I mean? They obviously may not have had the distractions of television shows and soap operas and shit we have. You know what I mean? Maybe their entire culture was based around the alchemy of nature and manipulating nature at that point. People were probably levitating.
That is what I believe, probably more than most things that I've come across. Yeah. Is that there was a part of our human race that in the past, like through the mystery schools and stuff, that's what they were teaching, is these kind of more alchemical ways of of doing things that it's like your mind is manifesting stuff through your consciousness. It knows that we might possibly be these first people, that we could be the elders and we could see the universe.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's obvious.
And we need to at least act as if we are like that.
Yeah.
Like, beyond anything else, like, I don't feel like there's any proof otherwise. And like what I was saying earlier, it's like it could just be just almost disinformation put out there that, like, you know, that's what UFOs are. And like, ever since I've seen anything like Ancient Aliens getting put on TV, it just really made me put off on any of those kind of concepts that they even talk about it. Like, why would these major people let these people get on TV and talk about it if it's not kind of contrived bullshit?
Yeah, it's
to make you to be distracted to what's really going on.
Yeah, it's bad, man. It's obvious, you know. I mean, but it's power, it's manipulation. I mean, you're taking the power away from all the indigenous natural knowledge. Like, for instance, if you know, there's people that have tried to preserve this, like, you know, they call it witchcraft if you do voodoo or you do any of these mystical magics or spells or anything like that, or, you know, it was casted as witchcraft. But really, if you really look at what they were doing or what we think they were doing, it sounds to me like they were doing shamanistic rituals, which they had brew that could, you know, they were using telepathy, they were using telekinesis. These are people that just have been, they had fragments of the ancient knowledge, you know, and whatever words they used to translate it into what we can think.
Well, you know? what I loved one time that we were talking about before is that what if, this was your thought, that what if they were so attuned to their imagination that their existence was on that realm too, and then they could bring that into our state.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's like that our technology is physical, but like we're tapping into Wi-Fi, which is ethereal, that we can't see. That they're tapping things into their mind, that they're just like, let's just imagine that we're building a pyramid and we're gonna carve this awesome capstone, and then we're gonna build everything beneath it in our mind, and then have enough people focusing on that, maybe going and having these psychedelics and chanting these sacred vibrations, and then it was like, it just appeared right here.
So, to kind of put that into a simple, let's check the time.
1:25.
So to give that concept that you're talking about a simple visual, it's like if the earth only had 10 people on it. And those 10 people joined hands in an open field and said, let's imagine that there was a pyramid here. And they all believed, and every day they woke up, they imagined that this was there until it was so in belief that it actually appeared. Because there would be nobody in existence on earth that didn't believe it was there. So it would force it into reality. You know, the only reason why humans can't fly is because most of the humans on earth don't believe humans can fly.
Yeah.
If every human believed it without it beyond reasonable doubt, it would be within physical science to do it, because there would be some kind of concept for it. Or
I mean, just like our brains being able to be like, all right, well, we're just gonna, because we have electromagnetic field around us, let's just reverberate it in a way that's anti-gravity, and then you can just levitate and go this way.
Essentially, that's what they're doing with planes. We just see combustion and we say, oh, it's not levitation because there's fire and, you know, it has rockets. It's still levitation, bro. But pretty much what we're talking about is like, you know, you hear about these sacred places, you know, geographically. And what makes them have that spiritual resonance and that feeling, you know, if something's haunted or something's blessed, or there's a temple that when you go there you always feel that way. And it could be because the majority of the experiences that happened in there had that kind of resonance like this porch. You know, this porch, that pounds of marijuana have been smoked here. Ounces of mushrooms have been done here. Tabs and tabs and tabs of acid have been done here. mescaline, you name it, meditation every night. As much philosophy as you can discuss has been done here, to the point that anytime somebody comes here, whether or not they want to or not, they get pulled into a philosophical mind state conversation. They immediately get into almost digging deep, whether I provoke it or not.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's the porch. That's what it's become. That's what it is.
Oh, and there's always like so many synchronicities here too. I mean, like me talking about the Waking Life movie, and then your boy MP saying, "Yeah, I just saw that shit on Netflix." Like, wow.
Yeah, all kind of crazy. You know, that's all kind of crazy coincidences. I'll like think of my girl anytime, or think of someone, and they'll just pop up on my phone. A text message. Just like I feel the intention before it gets digitally transferred. And I know this as something that people can do. I mean, it's definitely heightened under the psychedelic influence. But
it just feels like, I was here one time and we did mushrooms. Or, we did, a couple times we did things, we did LSD, and you had a sage burning around here.
Yeah.
And it felt like a ritual. And we got into like almost like a meditation beforehand, like a personal prayer, just like what kind of intentions you wanted to have.
Yeah.
And like we went on a walk and it just felt so magical.
Yeah.
And it just like, then we came back here, smoked some more, and that's when it starts like turning into something different. Like, it's just, I feel this like energies here that you've built up like through these different kind of mind states you've built here.
Yeah.
And I feel like anybody can do that, in a place.
Yeah, you just have to, there has to be some kind of intent. It could be a blind intent that you don't know that you're
well, I'm sure you didn't come into like, I'm just gonna do all this here and this is what it's gonna end up being, but like it's become a philosophical think tank of some like creative heads around here.
Absolutely, yeah. And most people that come into my life, this is a very important meeting place. It's almost like an initiation. You gotta come to the porch. You gotta smoke a couple blunts here. And you gotta open your mind and let that creativity spill. And it's almost like there's no filter here. You can say whatever the fuck. It's like church. It's like when you go to a Catholic church and there's that guy behind the wall that you're like, I've sinned today, and he's like, all right, do 5 Hail Marys. That's kind of like what the porch is.